and today I will be talking about testRigor. testRigor solves two challenges for our customers, specifically almost eliminate test maintenance. Our customers spend 200 times less time on test maintenance, and help non-technical people build tests 15 times faster than with Selenium. Any kind of test, even very complex ones. How do we do that exactly? Is we help you to express tests in plain English, and that is an example in here. There's example of a validation, click with relative location, entering static data, and of course you can do dynamic data or generate unique data based on certain format. And of course you can group your steps and assign an arbitrary name as such. This is does it have certain syntax? Yes, it does. In some cases, we actually run a combination of a parser and machine learning based natural language processing in order to understand the intent. However, of course, there are some use cases which are not supported, even though there are a lot of ones you'll be surprised will be supported. In 85% of the cases, on average, people just coming into testRigor, writing tests without learning and reading documentation whatsoever. All right, this is all great, but that's not really the point of testRigor. Here, of course, this is wonderful that you can express it in English, but the point of testRigor is that it will allow you to express anything you do with a page or mobile screen purely from end user's perspective, completely avoiding dealing with any details of implementations whatsoever. No XPaths, no CSS selectors, no IDs, no data test IDs, nothing which would make your test a white box test. testRigor is 100% purely black box functional end-to-end testing. And when we execute the test, we apply common sense and emulate exactly what you would do as a human dealing with your application from a user's perspective. So basically, we would do whatever you would do manually if you were to read those instructions and execute them manually as a manual test. Let me give you some examples. For example, you can do click communication preferences, it will click by name, and you can also say things like enter product into search products, enter test into first name, enter rigor into last name. In this particular case, we are relying on the fact that first name looks like a label to this input and last name looks like a label to that one. They do not have to be inputs technically, or they don't have to be labels for those inputs technically, but from end user's perspective, it looks as if like it's a label. So it's a label from end user's perspective. Moreover, like you can write your test saying enter test into first name today. Tomorrow, engineers will get rid of those labels and migrate to using placeholders, saying first name and last name as a placeholders on those inputs. testRigor test will continue to function because from end user's perspective, technically nothing really changed that much. You still can find those inputs. Now there is a little bit more tricky situation here where you have two identical update buttons on this page. So you might ask, how would you click on this second one as opposed to this first one. And there are multiple ways how you can express it, such as literally click on a second update or click on update button below change your password. And there are 20 other ways how you can do it depending on what you're trying to express from a business perspective. Moreover, it is even possible to work intelligently with tables as well. If you go to documentation, go to work with tables, and here is an example. And let's say you want to click on this ignore button, which is the second button in this column. So you can say things like click on the second button on a row containing this ID, which can be generated earlier, for example, and column actions. And it will work regardless where this column is located, regardless of how many rows are there. Like this column could become the first one, the last one, it doesn't matter. As soon as it looks like how it should work from a user's perspective, it will work like that. Moreover, today it could be rendered as a HTML table with TRs and TDs. Tomorrow, engineers would migrate it to just set of divs that, using some CSS techniques, would just look like a table from an user's perspective without actually being a table. And it will continue work exactly the same way as soon as there is something visually resembling column actions under which there are buttons on a row containing this ID. So you will not have to change a single line of code in a test. And if you think about it, this is exactly when you need your tests, and this is exactly when all of your Selenium tests will fail. So we giving you a tool to help you to build the tests which do not fail when you need them the most. So basically, to recap, testRigor is pure black box end-to-end testing, and it is common sense executable specifications engine. You specify using English what exactly do you want, and testRigor would execute it emulating a human interacting with the browser and applying common sense to mimic how you would do it yourself if you were a human executing those instructions. Thank you very much.